Start. Muito boa tarde novamente, obrigado a todos pela vossa presença. Temos agora mais um webinar de Corel, temos de volta a Suzane, que já nos ajudou com webinars no passado. As apresentações foram sempre ótimas, por isso agradecemos ter a Suzane de volta. O webinar vai ser gravado, depois será também disponibilizado para vocês e será também colocado no YouTube da TechData. Qualquer questão que tenham, podem ir colocando no Q&A, em português ou em inglês, como preferirem. Se for preciso, nós depois passamos a pergunta para a Suzane. Se quiserem, podem aguardar pelo fim do webinar. No fim, nós fazemos o unmute a todos os participantes e podem colocar a vossa questão diretamente à Suzane, se preferirem. Suzanne, thank you very much for helping us again with the webinar. We really liked the webinars that you already did with us, so we are looking forward to this one as well. So I will stop sharing and you can start your screen in the webinar.
Thank you, Ricardo. Obrigado. So, good afternoon, everyone. Boa tarde. I hope I said that correctly. Today we're going to look at some features in CorelDRAW that are especially useful if you are doing, for example, fashion design or textile design. So today we're going to be looking at the following things. We're going to start off by, if you've never used CorelDRAW before, we're going to start off with looking at CorelDRAW and what's included. If you are perhaps switching from Adobe, I will show you how easy it is to do this. And after this introduction, we'll be going straight in and looking at the various tools and features in CorelDRAW. Now, CorelDRAW is most famous for being used for sign making and for printing, but it's actually also used widely for creating multi-decorational products. So, for example, textile print. And at the very end of this demonstration, I would like to introduce you to some software that includes CorelDRAW, but which can turn vector graphics into embroidery files. And any of you that already use CorelDRAW, you know that this is a professional graphic design software. It's been on the market now for about 35 years. So we have a lot of experience and it's really easy to use.
Suzanne, I don't know if you were already sharing, but sharing something because we are not seeing it.
You're not seeing the screen because I was sharing. I am sharing. Let me just try this again.
Okay.
A moment. Let's just try this again. I'm so sorry.
No problem.
So how do I get back to my Zoom window? So for some reason, Ricardo, I'm clicking on the Zoom sign, but we go into the browser.
See if it's
so I'm clicking on the Zoom icon, but it's not opening up the Zoom window.
Do you see the attendees, the Q&A, the chat?
Or... No, I don't see the sign for sharing. So I'm going to try again. One moment.
Okay.
So I'm clicking on share.
Yes.
Okay, let's try this.
Okay, now it's working.
Now we've got it. I'm so sorry. I don't normally use Zoom very often. So let's go back to CorelDRAW. So can everybody see everything now?
Yes, it's perfect.
Okay. So again, we're going to look at what's included in CorelDRAW, how to easily switch if you're coming from Adobe, and then we'll be looking at the different tools and features. I also mentioned that CorelDRAW is used for printing and sign making, but also for fashion design, textile print, and multi-decorational objects. So this could be vehicle signage, textile print, and even embroidery. And we'll be looking at this at the very end. So what can we do with CorelDRAW? We can create textile designs, we can create fashion designs, promotional articles. So everything you see here are the things that are normally created in CorelDRAW. So if you have a company, CorelDRAW can be used in multiple departments, in the design department, in the marketing department. So you can basically use CorelDRAW for a wide variety of design features. So what's included in CorelDRAW? We have, first of all, we have the main product itself, which is a vector illustration tool. Then we have image editing. We have a font manager for managing and sorting your fonts. We have a photo program for editing raw images. Power Trace, which we'll look at, converts bitmaps into vector objects. And we also have CorelDRAW app, which is an online collaboration tool. In addition to the main programs, we also have extra content, and you can use these contents for any of your work. So you can use these to print t-shirts or make any designs that you want to make. So 7,000 clip arts, 1,000 photos, 1,000 fonts, professional templates, and various fills and gradients. If you've not installed CorelDRAW before and you want to install this content, you just go to the welcome screen and you click on, I think here, that's it. And you just tick the box for everything that's free, and you can just download and install all of the content. Now, if perhaps you're coming from Adobe Illustrator or you're coming from a different product and you're switching to CorelDRAW, there's a very easy way to get the program looking similar to the program you've just been using. So, for example, and I don't know if I can I move this? Yeah, okay. If we go to the help file, under reference, we'll find CorelDRAW for users of Adobe Illustrator. And here you'll find a comparison of the terminology, but also the tools. And as you can see here, CorelDRAW and the Adobe products, they share a great many tools. In some cases where Adobe has one tool, CorelDRAW will have 2 or 3. So what we usually like to do then is to work with shortcuts so that we can quickly access features that you've perhaps been using before. So here, for example, I can quickly personalize the shortcuts by going to Tools, Options, Personalize. And you can, for example, if you prefer to work in a dark background, you can change the background here. And if you want to add shortcuts, you can search for a command, just choose the command and then just add your own shortcut. And that makes it a lot easier to work for you. And finally, we'll just wait for this to finish saving. Under Windows Workspace, we have specialized workspaces, including a workspace that is very similar to Adobe Illustrator. If you choose this workspace, you'll get similar tools and similar panels. So one reason that CorelDRAW is perfect for multi-decorational designs is because it supports over 100 different export formats, including Illustrator, Photoshop, PDF, vector formats, CAD formats, and also new to this version, the Apple Hive format. So you can import and export. If I just click on import, you've got a whole list of formats that you can import from and export to. So that was the introduction, and we're now going to get started with the tools. Now, if you're doing something like t-shirt print, it's very often that a customer sends you a photograph or an image, and it's much better to work with this if you can convert this into a vector graphic. If we take a quick look at this image here, I'm just going to zoom in. We can see that as I zoom in, that the quality isn't very good. But we have a feature here called Remove JPEG Artifacts, which will help you, first of all, improve the quality. And you can see now that we've really improved the quality of this JPEG. Let's just go back one. But a better way of improving the quality of this image is by converting it to a vector graphic. So I'm going to go up to Trace, and let's choose Clip Art. So I'm just going to choose Clip Art for this. And let's just make this a little bit larger. Sometimes the program is a little bit slow when we're doing a webinar, but we can see here we already have the first vector. So I'm first going to click on Adjust. And here too, I can remove JPEG artifacts, and I want to convert this to an illustration. Then we're going to look at the colors. Because this was an image, the colors are RGB, but here you can now convert the colors to any other color model, including CMYK or any other palettes that you want to use. For example, a Pantone fashion palette, for example. I'm just going to stick with CMYK for now. And what I can also do is I can just select multiple colors and I can merge them. And I can also edit the colors. So let's just choose a different color here. And it's instantly updated. Let's choose another color. Let's edit this. And finally, I'm going to make some adjustments here. I need to remove all of the color. So I'm just going to remove the color from the whole image. And I'm just going to say, OK. So this is now our vector. And if we look at the quality of this, compared to the quality of this, there's a huge difference. All I need to do now is ungroup. And now I can just select my objects and just start changing them. So we've very easily converted our image in less than a minute. Now, there are some instances where you don't need a complicated image. Perhaps you just want to create a simple logo. And somebody comes to me and says, I want a t-shirt and I just want a logo of this bird here. So the first thing we do is to just reduce the size. So this is all I need. Let's make this a little bit bigger. And this time I'm just going to say simple logo. And we'll just let this go through. And we can see that it hasn't removed all of the background. So I can just specify this. So I hold the Shift key and I just remove all of the parts of the image that I don't want. So I'm just going to say OK. So this is our vector. Now, to make things easy for myself, I'm going to create an outline. So I'm going to go up to Objects and Border. And this is one of the features I use a lot. So I've just created my own shortcut for this. So here's our outline. And let's just zoom in here. Now, if you're printing or if you're plotting, we want to reduce these nodes because we have too many nodes here. But we have a fantastic tool called the smoothing tool, which is this one here. And the smoothing tool can be adjusted using Shift and Alt. So let's just do this. So if I hold Shift, I can change the size. If I hold Alt, I can change strength. So let's just go in here and let's just smooth this out. And you can see it's removing all of these extra nodes that I don't need. And this is very useful if you're plotting something or if you're embroidering something. You don't want too many nodes. So these I just delete. And when I'm finished, I can just quickly fill this with color. And I've got a really simple logo. Perhaps I've smoothed this a little bit too much, but again, you can adjust the strength using the Alt key. If you do have any questions, please write them in the chat box, and Ricardo, you can just let me know if anyone has any questions.
Yes, of course.
Now, if you're doing designs, we want to work as efficiently as possible. I don't want to keep opening documents or looking for documents. So I like to work with building blocks. And one of the things I really like to use is the tray panel. So let me just open up another window here. I think I've got this one. Here we go. Now, all of the content in CorelDRAW, the clip arts, the templates, the symbols, they are all kept here. Documents, Corel content. And one of these folders is called trays. Now, this might have a different name on your computer because I have an English system here. I think it's called, let me just have a quick look. It's called Bandia. I hope I'm saying that correctly. So let's just go back to that window. I lost my window. Okay, one moment. Let's just look for that window again. So under Corel content, trays, I've created some folders. And in these folders, I've put building blocks for designs. So I've got different elements here. And I just put them in here. And when I'm in CorelDRAW and I open up this panel, I can access these different folders. So let's just go over to an empty document here. Now I'm just going to look first of all for t-shirts. And let's just use this slider just to make this a bit bigger. Now, all of the content, you can either just drag your files into your document and you can place this anywhere, or let's choose this one. You can choose an element and just place this in the original position. So this is just the outline of my t-shirt. I also have some sleeve objects here. So again, I can just right click and just import in the original position. Just delete that. Or here. So I could have lots of different sleeves here. And then we can just add for example, some pockets. So working with trays makes it really easy to store design elements that you can just drop into your designs as you're working along. This could be company logos, for example, if you're doing sportswear. Okay, so this is working with trays. Now, another thing which makes working a lot quicker is working with symbols. And again, these symbols are stored here. And I like to create symbol libraries for different elements that I use time and again. So, and let's have a look at the buttons. So I've got some buttons here and I'd like to create some symbols. Why do I work with symbols? If I use an object very frequently, I can create a symbol from this and I can update the symbols at any time. And if I update the symbols are updated in my documents. So let's just try this. Let's open up the symbol window. So this is my document and I'm just going to create a library of buttons. Let's just take some of these over here. Something like this. So I'm now going to save this as a Corel symbol library. So I'm going to File, Save As, and now I have to make sure that I'm choosing Symbol Library. And I save the symbol library where everything else is saved: Documents, Corel, Corel Content, Symbols. And let's call this Buttons. Okay, let's just save this. So if I now look at my symbol panel, I can see both of my libraries. Okay, so let's just close this now. So I have here a design, and I'm just going to quickly add some buttons. So let's just add some buttons over here. Let's just align these. Let's just make this a little bit smaller. And just place these over here. They're still a bit big, but we need to see them, okay? So let's say you've made a lot of designs, and I'm just going to save this first. Let's just save this. Pop this on the desktop. Now I'm going to close this. Now just imagine the customer comes and says, those buttons, I don't like those buttons. We need to change all of the buttons. And you know you've got about 10 documents, 20 documents. You've got a lot of documents that are using these buttons. So what do? We don't change the documents, we change the symbol library. So let's just open up the symbol library again. So I choose the button and I choose Edit. And let's just ungroup this. Okay. And we say Finish. And I now need to save the library again. So we're in the symbol library. So I'm just going to save this. And you can see here that the library is being updated. So let's just close the library and open up one of those documents that had those buttons. And that was, I think this one. So the buttons are still the old buttons, but if I select this, I can click on Update, and every single button is now updated in my document. So it's really easy. It saves you a lot of work if you use symbols. Okay. Now, we don't just work with symbols and trays, we can actually work with templates. And templates are great because you can actually give template information if you're working with it. So I have a t-shirt design here, and I want to save this as a document template. So I'm going up to save as template. And we're going to choose selected only. We don't want the whole document, just that one t-shirt. And I'm going to call this t-shirt dark blue. And this again is being saved to Corel Content Templates. Let's say save. Now this is where we can now put in our notes. So I could say t-shirt, cotton, any notes I want to put in here. Let's give this a name. And you can add any other information you want to add here. And I forgot to do something before I did this. Let's just see if I can. Normally, before I save this, I actually create new folders and save my templates into the folder, but I'll just save this for now where it is. And if you need to open this, you just go to, we'll just let that save. It's still saving here at the bottom. And now we'll go open, new from template. And this opens up the template window. Now let's have a look. I'm actually looking for my templates. I can't, let me have a look here. Let's go down. That's because I didn't create my folder before I started. But here we can see, here's my template. So what I would normally do is I would go up to Corel Content, go to Templates, and create an extra folder. I'll just do this now. And let's just move our template in there. So that's looking better. So now if I go to New from Template, I can now choose my t-shirt category, and I've got all my t-shirts in there. And if I click on the t-shirt, I can see any notes that I put in there. So again, this is going to save you a lot of time if you're working on a design and just want a design as the basics. Now, we mentioned at the beginning that you have 7,000 clip arts in CorelDRAW. Now, you don't have to use the clip arts as they are. You can actually take the clip arts apart. So I have here a clip art, and I'm just going to ungroup this. And then using the shape tool, this tool here, and holding down the Alt key, I'm just going to select this part of the clip art. Then I do copy, paste, and let's just color this. And so I've actually extracted part of this clip art, and here, for example, I just took 3 different clip arts, I extracted pieces from them, and I made a whole new design from parts of the other clip arts. So you have actually more than 7,000 clip arts because you can combine these any way you'd like to combine them. So here's our finished design on our t-shirt. Now we're going to take a look at creating some text effects. So we'll start with the shape tool. Now, before you change the shape of text, you have to convert the text into a vector. So we select the text and we convert this to curves. And once it's converted to curves, you can actually take this and start changing the shape of it. And so you can use this to get some really interesting designs with your text. So the next thing we have here is the envelope tool. So over here we have an envelope panel, which is this one. Now I have a shape here. I'm going to select my text and I'm going to press that text into an envelope. So let's just take this, press it into that. And now I've created some really nice text that I can just put over here and just use in my design. So what else do we have? Let's try Simplify. Now Simplify works like a cookie cutter. So I'm going to place my text here. Something like that. Let's make this a little bit smaller. Let's bring this in here. So I select both objects and I click on, come on. Click on Simplify, and it's now punched a hole in that text. So again, I can take this, fill this with color, perhaps remove. It hasn't really worked here. Let's have a look. Let's go back. Let's try this one more time. Sometimes when you're doing a demonstration, it doesn't always work the first time. So let's just try this again. So Simplify. No, it doesn't want to work today. I'm really sorry, but try this yourself. You should have a hole here. You should be able to remove this, okay? So Contour tool. So just select your text. Over here we have the Contour tool. And you can just drag this out. And you can actually choose a color for your contour. And you can also choose how many steps you have, what distance you want to use for this. And again, you can use this to create some nice designs for your artwork. Now, in the Properties panel here, we have something called Special Effects. And Special Effects work on text, vector, and images. So I've got some text here and I'm going to click on Effects. And let's just add some effects. Let's start with Creative and Scatter. And let's just reduce this a little bit. Something like this. And I'm just going to say OK to this. Change the color. Something like this. And I can actually add effects. So I could add another effect. Let's try this one. And now I've got an effect like as if I've got paint running down. So again, I can just take this and put this over here. And I can go in at any time. This is non-distractive. I can go in and I can edit or I can delete an effect. Okay. So moving on, and now we're going to have a look at working with text. Now, the CorelDRAW Graphics Suite includes the Corel Font Manager for managing your fonts. Normally, if I choose the text tool, I can have hundreds or thousands of fonts that I have to scroll through, and it makes working with text quite complicated. So what I want to do is I want to actually work, first of all, with Font Manager. So this is the Corel Font Manager. first of all, it will show me all of my fonts that are on my machine. Here we can see we have variable fonts, true type fonts, and open type fonts. If the fonts are green, it means that these fonts are installed, but I can go in and I can uninstall or install fonts from this window. Anything that is marked yellow is not yet installed, so I can go into here and install the font. And anything with a lock, like this is a protected system font. So I can also have filters here to filter my fonts, and I can create font collections. So I went up to here and I created a new collection, and I called the collection Wedding. Now I want to put fonts in this collection. So I'm going to go to my filters and I'm going to choose installed and not installed fonts. I'm going to choose open type. I'm going to choose, let's have a look. Just go down here a little bit, normal. And then I'm going to choose scripts. So it's now shown me a list of fonts that fit my search. So I can just drag these over, just go down here. Let's have this one. And in CorelDRAW, you can see these fonts are not installed, but I can still use them in my designs. So do one more. Okay, I can now close this. Go back to CorelDRAW. And now, when I go to my font list, I can open up this collection of fonts, and I see only the fonts that I chose for this collection. So it makes it very easy to search for specific fonts for specific purposes. Now, CorelDRAW also has an open type engine. If I open up the properties, let's go over here. And I'm just going to select this type here. This is the Gabriola font. And if I open this up, we can see all of the open type features included in this font. Or I can click here and just try out some of the other styles that are built into the Gabriola font. So let's have this one, for example. So this makes it very easy for you, if you're using open type fonts, just to look for different features. Now, the features in this font depend on what the manufacturer has actually put in there. We also have variable fonts. So I have two variable fonts here. This variable font is called Decovar. And if a font is variable, you can choose these different properties here. So I can just go into here, just change some of the properties of this font. And you can get some really interesting effects going here. And this is also a variable font. This is boundary, but it only has two properties. It has weight and it has width. So depending on the font, you have different options here. Going over here, we also have, let's see if I can find this, a font sampler. So I can change a font here. Let's choose a different font here. Let's choose Gabriola again. And you can type some text in here. Let's choose a different font here. And a different font here. Let's show what this is. And if this font is open type, I can select it and choose a different style. And all I need to do now is just drag this into my document, and then I can just compare the different scripts with each other to make sure that works well with my design. And finally, if you're looking for specific characters, we have here glyphs, and you can search for a font, and you can say, for example, I just want to see Latin, and I just want to see the symbols and separators. And then it will show you just those characters, because open type fonts can have up to 65,000 characters. This just makes it easier for you to find specific characters, which you can then select and copy. The envelope tool can also be used, as we've seen on text. Let's just go back quickly to our envelope. So here again, I select my text, select the envelope, and it just reshapes my text for me. I can just go into here and just reshape the text. So working with layers. Now, if you have quite complex design, I would always advise you to work with layers. And if you are working with layers, just give your layers a name, because it makes it easier to find things. So here, for example, I can turn off the visibility of layers. I can turn off the printing of layers. And if I'm looking for something, I just need to put the name in here. And as soon as I start typing the name, it goes down and finds this for me. So let's just take this out again. I can also make the objects a little bit larger. And what you'll notice is that if I select an object and I change it, this change is also made in the object docker, making it really easy for you in complex diagrams to find objects and just work with that object. So for example, I can just turn off everything else, turn off the pastries, turn off the background, and just go right down just to work with the objects I want to work with. So now we're going to have a look at working with colors. So over here we have a palette window. And in the palette window, you'll find palettes that you create yourself. You'll find the standard palettes. So you've got all the standard palettes in here. Also the spot color palettes. And you can create your own palette. So let's just imagine we are creating some fashion or a t-shirt, and this year the trend is Japanese spring. So I'm just going to select an image, and down here I'm going to say create a color palette from the selected object. So I'm just going to choose this, and I've already done this once. It's called this Japanese spring 3, something like this. And that will ask me how many colors do I want to use. Let's say 20. And I now have a new palette. And I can use this for all my design work. And especially if you're working with images and vector graphics, it's sometimes quite nice to have all the colors matching up. And if you need to open your color again, you'll find all of your palettes here. Now, this palette at the bottom is called the document palette, and I can see I'm running out of time really fast, Ricardo. I have to be a little bit quicker here. The palette at the bottom is the document palette. It collects all of the colors you use in the document. So if you're doing some work for a customer and you're using specific colors, these colors will appear here, and you can just save the document palette under a new name. So if you need to do some more work for that customer, you have a palette with the customer's colors. So let's open up another window quickly. And this is going to be color styles. Now I've got some t-shirts here, and I've got the same design on each t-shirt, but the colors don't always work well. So I'm just going to take this design, drag this over here. CorelDRAW says, how many groups of colors do you want? I'll say, okay. Let's have 4 groups of colors. I'm just going to change this around a bit, and let's just zoom in here. And now I can just go in here, and I can just move the colors through the color wheel, and that will be instantly updated in the design. Let's do the same thing with the blue group. Let's go over here. So, and I think that looks a lot nicer. I can also go into here and choose different colors. I can choose a color and I can change the saturation and make that a little bit brighter. And so I can go through and quickly take a design and create different color variations. This also works in the other direction. I can take a color, bring that over here, and then I can select create a gradient from this. Let's choose light and dark colors. Let's open this up a little bit, and I'm going to go in this direction. And again, I can just go through the color wheel and just instantly change the colors. And if I wanted a little bit special, I can add a complementary color, or I can add an accented color. And whatever you do, you'll get colors that work really well with each other. So, and finally, if you are printing, it's really important that the colors are correct. So before you even start to work with CorelDRAW, I would always advise you to set up your color management. So we're going to go in here, and this is where you load your color profile. So you can go into here, and you can just go and load your colors to make sure your color is accurate. And once you've done this, you have the possibility in CorelDRAW of color proofing to make sure that the colors are accurate. So let's just turn this on. And already just turning this on and off, you can see that the colors are changing. So what you would do is you would choose your profile. I choose newspaper, for example, makes a big difference. And if you want, you can then print this out for customer approval to show that how the colors will look when they're produced. Now, sometimes a customer will send you a design. It might even be a CorelDRAW design, but the colors might be CMYK, and you might want to use different colors. So how do we convert these colors from CMYK, for example, to Pantone, fashion, and cotton? Well, I select the object. Down in the bottom, I double click on the color swatch. And I'm now going to change the palette. So let's go down to spot color, Pantone, and let's use the fashion palette. And it's showing me now the nearest color in the Pantone palette. Let's say okay. And you just go through this, and at the end, you can just quickly convert your CMY colors into Pantone. So just select the color, double click, choose your palette. Okay, and this will give you the Pantone value of the colors that you want to use. Now, another thing that we can use, we saw how useful it can be that when we use symbols, symbols are automatically updated. The same thing happens when we use object styles. And I'll just quickly show you how to do this. So I have some text here and I want to save this text as a style. So I'm just going to go to Object Style, create a style from the text. So I'm going to save all of the properties of this text as a style. And we'll just call this cycling. Big. Okay. And this will open up the Object Style Docker. And I'm now going to collect the colors. Let's just collect this color. Color style, new from, let's just do this again. Object style, new from fill. So again, this is not quite working. Sometimes I have a little bit of a difficulty working with this because I've got my text here. Move this here. Color style, new from. So it's not showing me the color here. So it should be showing me fill, but it's not showing me fill. Let's try this here. Let's try this again. It's always when you do a demonstration, there's always something goes wrong. So it's not showing me. One of these doesn't say fill, does it, Ricardo?
No.
No, okay. So I don't quite know what's happening here. What should be happening is it should say create a style from a fill. Let me just try something else here quickly. This was working this morning. I don't know why it's not working now. Let's just try this. No, so there's something here not working quite right. I should have color style from fill. The reason I wanted to show you that was if you create color styles from fills or from text, these styles are remembered here. So if I choose, for example, some more text and I apply this style to my text, you can see it's done that now. It's applied that style to the text here. Okay, so for some reason that's not working now in the demonstration. But the thing is, once you've created a list of styles for a customer, you can actually export this and you can give that to colleagues so that everyone's working with the same styles. Now, if the customer comes and says, well, this year we're not using red, we're using blue. Let's just, it's very hard to show you this now because the styles aren't working. All you need to do is update the style and everything in the document will be automatically updated, similar to the symbols. I'm just going to try one more thing because it could be the document that has a problem. Let me just try this one more time. If it doesn't work, we'll move on. No, so there's something not working here at the moment. But it was working this morning, which is strange. But do try this out. There are also videos about working with styles on our website. So that again will show you how this works. Creating fills. Now, CorelDRAW Graphics Suite comes with over 600 different fills, but perhaps you want to create your own pattern. And you can create different types of pattern. You can create gradients, vector patterns, and bitmap patterns. So let's start with vector pattern. Now, it will take the last pattern used. So this was the last pattern that was used, but we want to create our own pattern. So I'm just going to go over here and I'm going to say, create a new pattern from the document. And let's try this. And just accept that. And as you can see, I've now got this pattern in here. Let's just change the size of this. you can change this. And if I go into here, I can now add this pattern to my collection. Let's just add this. And I'm just going to call this Celtic. And I'm going to save it to decorative. Okay. So now when I open up my vector pattern, I can choose my decorative, and I can see if I go down here, is it this one? No. It's down the bottom. Here we go. So this is where it's now saved to the top of the list. So I can create my own pattern here. Now I can do the same with bitmap patterns. So let's create a bitmap pattern. Again, it's chosen the last one that I used, but I'm just going to capture that again. Let's capture the pattern from the document. So I'm just going to capture this. Accept. I can choose the resolution. Now I can make my pattern with or without a transparent background. So I'm just going to leave this without. And again, I've got the pattern here. And I'm just going to add this. So just add this pattern. Let's call this William Morris 2. And let's just save this under something like this. Okay. Now, the great thing about, let's just zoom in and make this a little bit smaller. So you've got all of your settings here. You've also got blend options. So I could add a circular blend, or I could add a linear blend, and I can get different types of patterns blending into each other using the settings here. And when I'm finished, all I have to do is select my object, select my fill. It will use the last pattern chosen. So let's go back down and make this 30. And then I can just fill this with my patterns here. Something like that. So it's very easy to create your own pattern. So another tool that I'd like to show you is the artistic media tool. So let's just zoom in here. So we have an artistic media brush and we have an artistic media panel. See if I can find this.
So I don't want to rush you, but we are.
So I'm missing some time. What I can do, Ricardo, if we're missing out some time, is I can always record the last part of this and send you the recording.
Okay, that's great. So you can be, if you need 5 more minutes or something, you can go on. It's just to.
Okay, 5 more minutes, 5 more minutes. Okay, so what I have here is I've got some objects, in this case, some zips, and I'm just going to create a brush from this. So let's take this object and in the artistic media, let's just save this. Let's save this as a spray can. And let's call this zipper. Save. And all I need to do now, wait for it to save, is select this line, apply the zipper and just change the spacing. And so I've very easily created a zipper. And if I go back to my symbols, I created a symbol library of zipper. So I can just drag this out. A little bit too big. And just put this in here. Okay. So 3 more minutes, keep going. So a couple of tools that we hope you like. I'm just going to quickly open these tools. So the first one we're going to look at is the pointillizer. this creates very quickly halftone patterns. So I've just split this image here, and I'm not going to change anything. I'm just going to apply this, and it makes a really nice halftone pattern, or I can create my own pattern. Let's just select this heart, select the text and apply. And we've just created this pattern here. So I'm just going to jump through here very quickly. So another great feature here is applying objects to a path. Let's just zoom in quickly. So I have an object here. I'm just going to select this object, and holding the Shift key, I'm going to select the path. And I can put how many copies I want, where I want my path to attract the objects, and just apply. And this just makes 10 copies of an object and fits them to the path. So 2 more minutes. You can also, there's another way of creating patterns, and that is using this one, step and repeat. So I have an object here. Let's create a row of objects going across. Let's try 4 objects, just horizontal. Oh, I should take this one away. No. So I think my program is not working the way it should be today. Sorry for this. Just go back again. Right, one more. So take this away. It does want to do this today. Okay. I normally create horizontal and vertical rows. It sometimes happens that when I'm doing a webinar, that sometimes Draw behaves a bit strange. I think it's something to do with the graphic card and the webinar. Let's just try this again. One last time. Now it's working. Okay, then just take the whole thing here, and let's just do -10, something like this. 12 now. So you're just working with the horizontal and the vertical axis. You can just create, again, really nice patterns just using the step and repeat page. So 1 more minute. We nearly finished. I'm just going to show you quickly power clipping. Power clipping is placing objects inside of vector objects or inside of text. So I could take an image and with the right mouse button, just power clip inside. I can then edit this. Let's just take this out a little bit, something like this. Or I can take images and put images inside of vector objects, for example. Or you can put vector objects inside of vector objects. Let's try this again. So I can put that in there. I can change the color of the vector objects. And again, this can give me a really nice effect. So, and the last thing, and then we're finished today, is multi-export. If you do a design and you want to do different things with your design, you have multi-export. So I can take one design and say, I want to export this as a vector object. So we can call this vector. And then I want to take this object and export this as a PNG for printing. And I can always go in here and access the settings of this format. And then I choose a destination folder and I can export everything here at the same time, simultaneously. So I don't think we missed too much. So this is the very last thing, and then we're finished. a couple of years ago, CorelDRAW and Wilcom got together and produced Embroidery Studio. This is half embroidery software and half CorelDRAW. So you can take a vector graphic and turn it into an embroidery, or you can take an embroidery file and turn that into a vector graphic. So if you are doing printing, sign making, and embroidery, the Wilcom software will let you do everything, and it includes a whole CorelDRAW Graphics Suite. So Ricardo, I'm finished.
Okay. So yeah, almost on time, so it's great. Okay, excellent. Thank you very much for your presentation. Se alguém tiver alguma questão, vou agora fazer mute. Por isso, se quiserem colocar alguma questão, podem escrever ou podem tirar um mute e perguntar. Susan, I just allowed everyone to unmute if they want, or if they want to write.
Please do. If you have any questions, please send them to Ricardo. Ricardo will send them to me. So I'm more than happy to answer any questions that you have.
I don't think we have any questions, so I think we are finished the webinar since we are already a bit
okay.
So, obrigado a todos os presentes, espero que tenham gostado do webinar. Qualquer questão que tenham, podem enviar para mim e nós ajudaremos. Thank you, Suzanne, once again for helping us with the webinars. It was great as usual. It's great to see the tools in action.
Okay, so, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay,
obrigado
goodbye.
A todos. Bye.
Bye.